Okay,
I call this meeting of the Ocean Highway and Port Authority together for November 8th, 2023 at 6 o'clock. Roll call. I'm sorry, let me do this. Invocation, please stand for the invocation. Commissioner Nelson, you lead us.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening, and we thank you for allowing us to come and to gather and do the business of the people and for the county and for the port. We ask your guidance, your blessing, your wisdom tonight to be upon us. We ask for your blessing and protection upon our military as we experience these unstable times. Be with our first responders. Lord, we ask this all in Jesus' name for his sake.
Amen. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Cole,
Here.
Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Hill. Here. Chairman Fullwood,
Present.
thank you.
First thing on the agenda is the election of new officers. We'll be electing the chair, the vice chair, and secretary treasurer. And with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that I'd like to nominate Commissioner Cole as chairman for the ensuing year.
Also,
Well, it wasn't a motion, but that's all right. The reason I did that, Commissioner Cole was vice chairman for 2 years. And last year he probably should have been chairman, but he was not ready because of other obligations to take that position, so he was held back, and we elected Commissioner Hill to be vice chairman. He's done a great job for this commission. He's been on the commission now, 6 years? Served as vice chairman for 2 years. Served with the secretary treasurer once. And I think it's just right for him to move up to chair for next year.
Are we entertaining, is this a vote for the nomination? I mean, and this would be better when understood about the nomination, or be able to make another nomination for possible chair.
You just have a nomination, there's no motion to be made.
So we make it, okay, so we can make another nomination. Sure. Okay, so at this point, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Hill for chairman of that person. I think in the year that I've been on this board, I've seen a lot of, us kind of going in a different direction, positive direction. And I'm excited with that direction I'm seeing. And what Commissioner Hill brings and a lot of her skills, her legal expertise, I think certainly goes a long way in helping us. Of course, with passion for service. So that is reason for my nomination. I think she made a great chair person.
Thank you for those comments. It's a bit awkward, this discussion, because we don't get to talk with each other in advance about how we will nominate. I just wanted to thank you for that, and also thank Commissioner Cole for your service on this board. And I am willing to serve as chairperson, but that shouldn't take away from the many years of service that Commissioner Cole has rendered to the board, and I will serve at the pleasure of the board. I would also like to nominate, if we may discuss other positions.
Let's do this one first. Let's take a chair first.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Cole, you have anything else?
Yeah, you allow me to clear it up. So. You cleared up what I wanted to say.
Well, you don't want anything to add anything?
Just that I'm honored and, that you would consider it. I have served 2 years as vice chair. I am aware of what's going on. And again, last year was not a good time for me as chair of the Florida TPO, which is an appointed board duty, I needed to focus on that. And so that's why we didn't take it last year. So, but I did state last year that I would be ready for it this year. Yeah. So.
All right, so we've got 2 nominations, and I'm gonna make a motion that we elect Commissioner Cole as chairman. Second, we'll hear a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
Okay.
So that's 2 to 3.
Correct. Good. Any other nominations?
I'd like to make a motion for Commissioner Hill to be chairperson.
I second.
Motion made and seconded for Commissioner Hill to make a chairperson or become chairperson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no? Motion carries. Madam Chair,
Thank you,
and I'm gonna give you the guy
thank you.
and.
Thank you, Chairman Bowen, and thank you for serving as chair. Sure, absolutely.
I want to thank this commission for allowing me to serve as chairman for the last 3 years. This is a passion for me. I love this commission. I think we're doing some good things. I think we've got a bright future ahead of us. I think now that we've got some good leadership here, we've got some good commissioners. I think we know what we're doing. We're fighting some battles, but I think we know where we're headed in those battles. And I am just happy to have served as chairman here for not only the past 3 years, but 2 years beyond that on top of it. And vice chairman a couple of years and secretary treasurer a couple of years. So I put my time in here. And I'm around, hope to be around for a long time, but we'll see. So thank you, Commission, for allowing me to serve. All right, thank you.
Madam Chair. I was unclear with the vote for your
It was unanimous.
unanimous. Okay, thank you.
So we have 2 additional offices to elect. We have vice chair and secretary treasurer. I would like to make a nomination for Commissioner Taylor for vice chair to serve as secretary treasurer for a year. He's demonstrated a mastery of Robert's Rules of Order. And the vice chair's role really is to serve if the chairperson is incapacitated or unable to attend a meeting, and I think he would serve well in that capacity. And so that I would like to nominate him if he's willing to serve.
Thank you.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
The second, oh, this nomination, okay.
I second that nomination.
Okay, so that would be a motion by
That is a
Ethan.
motion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for Commissioner Taylor as vice chair. I just need a second. Was that from Commissioner Nelson?
I second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second for Commissioner Taylor to serve as vice chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Vice Chair Taylor. So for Secretary Treasurer, do you have any nominations for Secretary Treasurer?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Nelson. You don't mind signing a bunch of checks, forms that we're going to bring to you, but I'd like to nominate you for Secretary Treasurer.
I second.
Are there any other nominations for Secretary or Treasurer?
You accept it, I'll second.
Okay, so that would be a motion by Commissioner Taylor for Commissioner Nelson to serve as Secretary Treasurer, a second by Commissioner Cole. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have a board.
Okay, thank you so much. And on next on our agenda, item 6, recognition of elected officials, honored guests, industry and professional representatives and others in attendance. Tonight we have the privilege of having Commissioner Ross, Dr. Ross of Citizen, who attends most of our meetings. We also have former Mayor Mike Lendovich. We also have Mr. Joel, who is visiting from Salt Lake City with Savage as a project manager, if I have that correct, for the warehouse. We have Matt McPhail from Savage here to the left. I think it's important to recognize the members of the public who attend almost every meeting. Julia Roberts, who is also a movie star, but actually just an excellent writer for our local paper, just so that the members of the public know individuals that are here present today. We also have some public comments that we've received. The first is Daniel Graver for agenda item parcel A. Would you like to come up and speak, please?
It's actually illegal. My handwriting is atrocious. Here to discuss parcel A. It's been on the docket since, I don't know, March, April. I see we have quite a few different, okay, put the time on, yep. I ramble. So I see we have residents in the neighborhood. These 3 parcels have been contemplated as being sold. They are buffer zones. There's quite a bit of discussion whether this should be done or not. In the course of these deliberations, a very qualified design builder was selected, and through his willingness to move forward, I'm here to say that Keller Williams and myself were capable, ready, willing, and able to do what's necessary to market this opportunity. The opportunity stems not only for 3 individual parcels, but how to mass these parcels to gather the highest and best value, highest and best use, given the fact that they are in part of the historic district. There's things that might assist with this, just as the design build process is concerned, maybe in competition with not local, but universities as far as the massing is concerned. This would be with architectural and design elements from the various universities. Once again, appreciate your time as always. Appreciate your service. Congratulations to all our new not board members, but new positions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next is Mr. Bob Burton. And please, just state your name and address, please, on the record.
Easy question. About why not? Bob Burton, 424 North 3rd Street, Fernandina Beach. I urge the local board to reconsider whether or not John Hillman and Cabana Lane wants to be considered or not for parcel A. Because I think that they've already done a lot of work and it would be a quick jump start to getting the process moving. It would get the money in the bank account that much faster, I think. Plus would be a real good thing for the neighborhood. And he's already invested a lot of time. No, I don't know whether or not he's backed out for good or not. So I just bring it up. I urge you to reconsider it. And if he doesn't want to be a participant and we select another broker, I would hope that we would follow the same deed restrictions that we were going to follow with them. Specifically, I'm most concerned about lot size of at least 50 feet wide and detached single family dwellings. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. So we have Catherine Barrett.
Hi, Catherine Theron, 432 North 3rd Street. Just wanted to provide a brief reminder before you make a decision on agenda item 8E. on the construction contract for the fence, which is that in the meeting in which it was discussed and decided to proceed with an RFP, Ray asked for information regarding throughput so he could verify that there was in fact a need for a deep increased storage. And we were sure we were not proceeding on the basis of dated or possibly inaccurate or optimistic information. So I strongly encourage the board to ensure before proceeding on the decision to take on more debt, that we in fact have the income stream that supports that debt, as was mentioned in your previous meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thayer. Next item on the agenda, unless any of the commissioners would like to comment on the public comment section. Any comments from the commissioner in response?
I would like to say that I put in 2 calls actually to, Mr. Hillman, and he never returned my call. So I did attempt that, but I didn't hear back from him. I don't know if he was out of town or what. I did that recently.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so next item is regular business approval of minutes. We have the October 3rd, 2023 emergency special meeting on the board director contract. And I did want to take that one individually because I did have some changes for Rowena at the bottom of page 1. It was a statement made by me where I questioned why Mr. Kaufman did not object when the board discussed having provided notice of non-renewal at previous meetings. And then on page 4 of the same meeting, the first complete paragraph, the last sentence, the statement by me, Chairman Hill interjected that the offer was taken on the table. Mr. Kaufman replied that he is certain, and I believe he said the conversation is not finished. Okay, there's no objection, that was my only change. Do I have a motion to?
Motion to adopt the minutes, October 3rd, 2023.
As amended.
As amended.
Second. All in favor of adopting the minutes as amended? Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to adopt the minutes of October 11th and October 25th together. Second.
We have a motion to take those together in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up on the agenda is the court attorney report.
Thank you, Chairperson Hill. I think you can see from the report. If there's any questions, it's pretty self-explanatory. We've got 2 cases and then kind of a list of things that have been being worked on that are either on this agenda or we've otherwise discussed.
Yeah, you Michael.
I don't know. There we go. How about that?
Thank you.
Sure. So the cases are listed and then a list of items that we've been working on, some of which we've discussed or in the agenda. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Patrick? So Patrick, I know there was discussion about fees and I think Rosanna had received direction from here on fees. Do we want to discuss that as part of, do you want to discuss that later as part of your report or? Okay. Okay, so I know that we were trying to receive some sort of discount on the invoices. Rosanna, do you have that amount that we were seeking? 10%?
So as discussed with Pierre, and I think the basic discussion was if the invoices can be paid in full before the end of the year, then the discount can be applied. But some of these, not to get into too much detail, but some of these have been outstanding for quite some time. So, you know, for my firm and what they want to see and getting them paid before the end of the year is the priority. So if that can be done, then the discount can be applied. So we agree that 10% is now correct. Sorry, October.
then further will arrive in early December. And so I anticipate we'll be able to get all those paid, and we can really take a 10% discount to make sure to assist us in making sure we get all that paid by December 31st. I don't anticipate that will be.
Okay, thank you for the discount.
Sure.
Very much appreciated. And will the discounts just be reflected on the next billing cycle, or will they be taken off the last invoice?
Yeah, we can write them off so that they can be paid instead of a payment and reimbursement. We'll, I'll work with Pierre on getting the total amount that's due, and then.
Right, well, so what once we get to December, the November bills will come in December, we will liaise with the billing person to come up with what's the remaining balance due, minus the discount, obviously pay that amount, so. Yeah.
So Rosanna, usually you need some kind of consensus to issue the checks for payment. You usually bring them to the meeting, or no?
I just need board direction. So I do have a question, Madam Chair. Pierre, so we're supposed to make a payment for this month. So does the board want me to wait until we get the total outstanding and then do a 10% or pay the month without the 10%? Okay.
Again, once we get to December.
Right.
Once we know that we're gonna be able to pay them, we will calculate the discount, and we'll take it off that bill to be paid in December.
And that's consistent with the email you sent about the 10%.
That's the agreement the email I sent you was the agreement that was just putting the words to what Patrick and I have agreed to, which is what I'm saying, yes.
So these invoices must be for a prior time period before we reach that agreement?
No, so we're taking we're gonna get the 10% on the amount that we had outstanding at that point where we discussed, and which is like 66,000 plus the October and November billings. Okay, so but we're not gonna take that discount until we know, again, the discount only applies if we can get all of the payments in for the first. But we're just gonna pay the bill as normal, and then again, I'm anticipating we will be able to pay, but we'll wait until the December final payment. That final payment will include the full discount.
The full discount being.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much for that report. And thanks again for the discount. Wonderful. Excellent legal representation. So the next item is item C, the board account report. Your opinion.
You have the monthly treasurer's report in your package. So obviously, the first thing I'll point out is obviously we switched to the budget with 2023, 2024. Haven't received any income yet, so I don't know if that's start. The quarterly fee will come in. It comes in November, sometime in November. So other than that, again, just the normal kind of expenses. We're working hard. You see that there was a large payment already for the port attorney. We're working, like I said, to get the whole thing down. We're also working. We'll submit an Harvard reimbursement as soon as we do the December payroll to make sure that money goes in, so that we got our cash flow issues, so we can make sure we control it. So again, I don't anticipate any issues. I expect that we'll be able to do that, so we'll get that full discount. So that's the treasurer's report. Obviously, customs house. We've left that separate rather than consolidating it, just to begin because it is separate, and obviously the port operators reimbursement for the electric, the utilities, which is essentially all we pay at this point. Everything else is covered by the port operator, and then the third page is to be balanced within the account that it's there. Question on that.
Yeah, I have a question about the maintenance account.
Yep.
What procedure have we used in the past to take money out of that for things that we need to do for?
So the request comes from the board. So yeah, last time we obviously we took out some money out of there. So the request comes from the board. The board has to approve you know, it's a joint request, right? The operator makes the request and the board approves it. You're not supposed to, I'll say the contract says you're not supposed to be denied those requests. But essentially it comes before the board and then obviously you make that payment to the operator or to the vendor or whatever it is based on that request. So there, we would expect a written request from the operator for the amount and what it's for. That comes before the board for approval, essentially.
If we needed to upgrade something that's already on the port, but needs maintenance, does that have to go out for an RFP?
And how much you're, too vague of the question.
Well,
And not to mention the question is why it's not the operator pay? Why are you preparing something that the operator should be maintaining?
I guess we'll hear more about that.
Now, I mean, obviously, the operator can come for the maintenance fund, but I would be hard pressed to understand why you would move forward with a repair on port that the port operator is responsible for maintaining and paying the first $15,000.
Right.
So, but, I mean,
The operator pays the first 15,000 or whatever it might be, we pay it.
suppose, yes, that's the way the contract is.
Okay.
And then the remainder is supposed to be paid by the port authority. We discussed it last time, if money is not available from the maintenance account, the operator is expected to still pay and maintain the assets that are being provided to the contract.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out there for later, for the finish. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, so the next report is actually the quarterly reports. So we're backing up on the month, we're actually, this is September 30th, 2023. Financial report. This is what's being audited right now. I think I said it last meeting, the auditors are here actually this week. They're based in our offices. If anyone wants to come from the auditors, they're there. They'll be here through tomorrow. And we'll continue to communicate with them via email for any kind of questions and things like that. But they're obviously looking at invoices, obviously reviewing reports, all the things they need to complete their audit. So that, like I said, that's in process right now. So I don't have any comments or anything. So obviously these reflect the September 30th, the full year position. I don't think there's anything surprising. So the first page is the balance sheet. Page 1 and 2 are the balance sheet. Again, there's nothing unusual, nothing that stands out as far as anything significant. And then on page 3, you have the quarterly, the fourth quarter of 2023 as compared to the fourth quarter of 2022. And I'll just say, so, and if we go straight to the page 5 and 6, which is the year, so the total year, October 2022 to September 23 versus the year prior, 2021 and 2022. And obviously the biggest difference, you'll see that there's a significant difference in income, but the differences in income is because of the grants. And then, you know, the grants count as income. So when you receive grants, whether it be for crane purchases, obviously we have some significant purchases in the last few years or so. The reason for such big swings, because obviously the fixed fees, the fixed fees, and some of the others don't really change that much, but things that the grant will tend to swing significantly, especially in that last few years because of some of the investments that the port operator is making. And you'll see if you look at as on page 5, you have an line 66900, which is worldwide terminal contributions. And those are the matching grants that the port operator has provided to the port authority to meet some of its grant requirements as far as funding and be able to access their funds. So other than that, I said depreciation being the biggest. Obviously, we've got a lot of equipment, a lot of investment in the port that's depreciated. And as I said, other than that, there's really nothing else of any kind of significance on here unless anybody has any questions. And obviously, we'll review these again when we have the audited financial statements, which I don't expect to have until probably February. So it'll take at least another month or two for the audit. So,
Will the auditors be able to present the financials?
we invite them. Obviously, the auditors are in Naples, Sarasota. So we can ask them. They can go to the phone, obviously, but again, no comment. accommodate whatever. Or we can.
But in the kind of helpful, it doesn't have to be, certainly would be, but I think it would be helpful to hear from them.
Yeah, so we'll obviously have to invite them for them, but we want to do that and like stuff like that, obviously it needs to be coordinated. But then, yeah, it's not like they're Jacksonville, so they come from Sarasota, so.
Is that included in the cost of the audit or is that additional?
Per se, it's not included, I mean, but I don't know what they're charging additional for you, but in fact, we have to quite a bit, you know, that show you. So,
Well, let's see what they say, and,
yeah,
and then if there's a cost, I can consider another option.
right, certainly, I think for sure, they could buy a phone or a Zoom or something like that, showing them in person that maybe a little bit more burden, but we'll have to ask that.
And Chairman Fuller, since you've been serving, as chairman until now, do you have anything to contribute to the financial discussion, because of your involvement as chairman?
Actually, no, I think the financial report was good myself.
So the last piece that I have is the budget amendment. So, as we know, obviously the budget is based on a board operator, sorry, board director position, being eliminated. So we had in our, when we passed the budget, at that meeting, we had eliminated that position from 2023-24 budget. Obviously based on the contract and the termination letter, and et cetera, et cetera. We have some financial responsibility that we will have to pay out, as I said, so, I think, Mr. Kaufman's contract comes to the end on, December 3rd, and then there's separate, so,
12.
sorry, 12th, sorry. Yeah, so December 12th, so, and so we included, so essentially that thing will change, that's for the proposed amendments to add, essentially $69,550.35 to the board director, so to the salary for the executive director. And we expect to receive those funds from ARPA, so we also included a $69,000 reimbursement from ARPA. So essentially the net effect on our budget is zero. So we need to.
So I would entertain a motion to amend the budget to include the additional funds that Peter just described. Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to add the amounts needed to cover Mr. Kaufman's severance and salary. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries. Here, okay, so the next item is the Port Authority operator report. We have the tonnage report. First, Mr. McPhail.
Good evening. Good fun. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Let's turn this on.
Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
Uh,
You have to have a green light. There you go.
All right. Good evening. Thanks for having me here. As far as the tonnages for October, normal cargo mix at the port, Summers Isle, the container business steady as she goes. Handled just under 650 TEUs for the month, 20 equivalent units. We had 2 wood pulp shipments from Europe, just over 14,000 tons handled. That was more than the previous month. And we had a KLB export ship that slipped into November, but we were receiving cargo via rail throughout the month, and in fact, we're loading that ship today. On the tonnage side. Customer service update, was that your item, Commissioner Hill, or?
Yes, we had some issues with folks calling OPA and complaining that they weren't able to reach anyone at the main number for Savage, so.
Yeah, so we're aware of that situation. Thanks, Rosanna, for sending those to us. We're in the process of updating the phone system. Our goal is to have people answer the phones when they call versus system. We've also updated our website with the appropriate phone numbers and contact information. In fact, we just last week rolled out a new website, NassauTerminal.com. It is branded similar to our Wilmington location, Carolina Marine Terminal, and you'll see it starting to link those terminals to capitalize on opportunities and customer crossover.
So does Port Bernardino link to Nassau Terminal?
I believe it does. There was discussion about it. I haven't actually tested the link myself, but that is the goal, that we have, you know, helpful links and whatnot that will link to the port website.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's our legal name in the state of Florida, it's the Port of Bernardino, so people may not know certain.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as those are connected, I think, you know, I think that we may have even been asked that we update the contact info on y'all's website as well. If not, we'll put in a request to do that. I think, might have questions in contact.
Have you given your cell phone number to, Rosanna or provided it for?
I've handed out my card before. I don't know, Rosanna's got my email. I'm happy to pass it along. It's on my signature. You know.
Because I know when, we were primarily responding with Gilbert, he was really responsive, you know, he called his mobile, and I think you might have gotten a little spoiled with that level of service.
But that's a high bar. I will do my best. He's also very tall. Get up and tippy toes there, but yeah, I'm happy to pass along the phone and email.
Thank you.
I'll provide an update on the tug as well. So the cost of the tug repairs basically doubled, and we're in the process of approving all those new expenses. We're advised by the shipyard that years of band-aids and patches have come due now. So the cost is considerably more than our initial quotes. I'm told that we're expecting another 2 weeks waiting on parts and whatnot before it gets returned. That's the update I've received. In your packets, we're putting in a formal request to repair this security cameras, update the security cameras. So hopefully you guys can take that up and see if we can move forward on the camera.
There were some specific items that Commissioner Nelson had brought up. Did you want to talk about the individual items?
Yeah, the cameras were one of the first initial, on the list. Yeah, the, cameras were on the initial list. I do highly recommend that we expedite this, because the camera system is part of your facility security plan. And is monitored by the Coast Guard. So if those cameras are not operating, we need to be notifying the Coast Guard so that they can do their action and their diligence. But we do need to get these cameras back online. It served a great service to the port, to the neighbors that live out there.
Even in Essex, right?
The cameras serve. Coast Guard is, that's what they recommend, and since we wrote it in the FSP, we're governed by that for 5 years. We have to make sure that they're maintained, and that they're operational at all times. If any camera goes down, the rule is we notify the Coast Guard, we give them the camera information, where it's located. And we have they have a contractor already in place that comes right away and takes care of that. They are part of the security.
We do have that on the agenda later. Were there any other questions for Mr. McKay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item E, Port Director President report. David.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I've got a number of items that were provided to you, that we're continuing to work on and trying to close out. We're working on the draft report for the resiliency plan, and I had a conversation with the consultant earlier today. They're continuing to make progress on each of the sections of the report. I would expect in the next week or two, hopefully we'll have at least an initial draft. I'll be happy to circulate to everybody. It is looking pretty good from what I've seen so far. The other items, kind of speak for themselves. There's a number of action items tonight, including the report they just heard from the operator regarding the security cameras. That will take up at the appropriate time. One other item just came to my attention literally about 15 minutes before we started our earlier meeting. Got a call from the Army Corps of Engineers regarding the channel alignment. For those of you that have been on the commission for a number of years now, there's an issue with the current federal channel alignment as it relates to the city marina. And there was a request to move or realign that alignment based on that issue. My understanding is the commission took a position in favor of that realignment, as did the city. It was all caveated on the fact that OPA would not incur any costs in doing that. The call I received today from the Army Corps was after that action taking place over the last couple of years, they've been trying to identify the appropriate authority to move the channel and to do it in an expeditious way. And so they just have determined that it can be moved at no cost to OPA or the city. It'll be fully funded by the federal government. They will send me probably in the next week, hopefully sooner, a letter request to OPA to concur with that activity. So hopefully we can take it up at the first meeting in December, presuming that we don't meet in November because of the holiday. But they would like to get that obviously as soon as possible, but it'll be a no cost item for OPA, but because we're the non-federal sponsor, they need our concurrence.
Madam Chair, somebody may not know, we developed an interlocal agreement with the city several years ago to take care of that situation at no cost to OPA at any point. And we both agreed to that. I'm glad to see we're finally getting it done. If you need to look at that, maybe Rosanna can send that interlocal agreement out to everybody so we can read it and see what took place.
Do you need that placed on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
And then on the authorization for the RFQ, are you actually asking for an action item on that?
Yes. So as we discussed previously at an earlier board meeting, we've been working with Customs and Border Protection to satisfy their facility requirements at the port. Chairman Fullwood and I met with Area Report Director Bradshaw and Director Parrott a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, to talk about that project. And I think I reported at the last meeting that our request to the Florida Seaport Transportation Economic Development Port Security Grant Program, it's a mouthful. We requested $25,000 on a 75-25 matching basis. So we would need in order to use that full 25,000, it has to be matched with that a little over $8,000 to do preliminary design and cost estimates, so we know what it is that we're actually designing and building before we go and seek the second round of funding for the actual construction. That grant request was approved by the council. We will expect to see a grant agreement presented to us by FDOT probably in January to codify that $25,000. So while we're waiting for that to occur, it's my recommendation that we go out with an RFQ to select a architect engineer to work with us and Customs to define those requirements more closely and to look at a number of options for fulfilling those requirements.
whether it be with the existing customs house or a different facility. In talking with CBP officials and the operator, we've identified at least 4 options for satisfying that requirement that we would ask this consultant to evaluate and come back with a recommended plan and a recommended budget for those improvements. So what I'd like to do is get authorization to advertise for a architect, engineer to work with us in developing conceptual designs and cost estimates. So that when the funding is in place, we can move forward expeditiously with that work.
So, Commissioners, will draw your attention to that portion of the agenda, following, let's see, it's page 52 of the packet. Patients for selection, submission of proposals. I did have some questions for David, which I sent him for the meeting. He provided excellent responses to. One of my concerns is just that because the project could potentially require federal funding, whether we had to bid this pursuant to federal procurement. And both Patrick and David confirmed that because it is just a preliminary analysis of needs and what would be potentially required for the project, that this would be under the Florida CCNA statutes, so this would be an appropriate method of advertising. My one change would just be in the qualifications for selection. There really is no mention of any federal planning experience, and so if we're going to get an architect who is going to inform us of the potential costs and timeline in this process, I think they do need to have some experience with the federal procurement process so that they could adequately advise us.
I thought we had something in here regarding, in that first paragraph, we do say experience with design and construction of government buildings, in particular U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Mr. Hoffman, your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, I must have.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so the last sentence, experience with design and construction of government buildings, in particular with U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Right. And so everybody understands the CCNA is this Competitive Consultants or Consultants Competitive Negotiation Act, which is a Florida statute that requires public entities when they're bidding for professional services, whether it be architecture, engineering, surveying, that you select your consultant initially based on qualifications only, and then you negotiate with the top ranked firm based on the qualifications, you negotiate the specific scope of the fee. So unlike a construction project where you're asking for them to provide cost estimates up front, you do that after you've already ranked them based on the qualification. So this is basically just an RFQ to get consultants to provide the qualifications to us, and then we'll rank them based on that, and then negotiate, ask approval by this commission to negotiate with the top ranked firm. That would be the process. And then that agreement would come back to this commission. We would not be able to spend any of the money and start the actual work until you approve the grant agreement from FDOT. Like I said, probably won't happen until January. We're also working with the operator, had good discussions with the operator throughout this process for them to basically reach an agreement with them like we have on other projects that they have cost funded and managed on our behalf. So they will provide the 25% match that's required and also assist with the project management.
So we're not asking this firm to provide sources of funding.
No, not for this. No.
Suggested funding.
No. We need to understand, how big this creature is that we're building and what the general range of funding is so that you know what you're asking for when you do actually go out for construction grants. Yeah, I don't know, I keep.
Okay, and this, I don't speak here, maybe I did. Did we say this was the funding for payment, the grant program?
It was not in the RFQ, it will in the agreement between us and the operator. That they understand that the way it'll work is they lay out the money for the invoices, and then they get reimbursed from the grant.
And then any agreement with whichever firm is selected through this RFQ would have a similar one.
Other questions for David? We will be in an action item, so I would need a motion to approve. So the motion is to authorize David to advertise the RFQ. I don't think we have any revisions, so it would be as it appears in the agenda.
So, Madam Chairman, there may be one, as I mentioned in my email. Well, this keeps cutting off. As I mentioned in my email to you today, the way it's structured now, there are 3 options that are under consideration, and in subsequent conversations that I've had with other courts, as well as some consultants that have done this kind of work around a number of seaports, there may be a 4th option also that, which was effectively raised by the operator. So the process is still the same, the evaluation criteria is still the same. We would just be asking them to evaluate 4 options. Evaluate 4 options, which is for the 4th option would be a modular structure that we could place within the secure area of the port.
Okay, so I've received a motion to adopt it as in the agenda, so I think we need to. You want to withdraw your motion or?
We're talking about the
Recommended.
I will need a second.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion about the RFQ as it is for the? We have, so we've added additionally to that a 4th option, which I don't think we've discussed, but what David is adding is a modular structure within the secure area of the port is a 4th option. So the options are renovation and expansion of the existing facility outside the secure area of the port, renovation of an existing warehouse within the secure area of the port, or the construction of a separate facility on a property immediately adjacent to the existing building outside of the secure area of the port. And then this 4th option would be a modular
Structure within the secure area of the port.
structure within the secure area.
Madam Chairman, today, CDP agreed to that.
CDP has not been asked to agree to anything at this point, other than they have asked us to meet their facility requirements.
Okay.
And so we're looking at all options available to us to meet those requirements.
That term modular is.
They have used those elsewhere. And so it is an approved type of construction. The distinction, so we understand between within the secure area or outside the secure area, the design standards may change based on where it's located, right? So we may be able to reduce some cost by having it within the secure area, as opposed to outside the secure area. So we want to understand what those cost impacts are.
And we're not talking a single line trailer, we're talking about a modular office.
It would be a modular building that is constructed to meet their facility requirements. We would not do that. Obviously, we would not recommend that as an outside the secure area, right? Because we're thinking about the historic district guidelines, but within inside the port, you don't have the same factor.
So David, why do we need to only limit it to 4 options? Why wouldn't we just say to explore the options that are available?
You certainly could. I think this just helps build an expectation within the community in terms of what we're bidding out, given the funding that we have available. So I think we would at least within our group want to acknowledge that we want to limit the number because we've got limited funds to evaluate. We want to make sure that we've got reasonable solution.
Madam Chair, in discussion with CDP, that's what they recommended, those three options. And now this fourth one, because of electronics, equipment that they have there, elected there to not be put too far out of that range. So that they, and at this point, whatever CDP wants, I think they need to get.
I would also suggest, Madam Chair, that that information is provided as background, right? That's not what they're going to be bidding as part of this RFP. Once you select the highest ranked firm, the line's just cutting off. Once you select the highest ranked firm, so that you then sit down with that firm and negotiate both a scope and a fee. And, certainly as part of that conversation, if you wanted to explore other options, or if they had other options they wanted to explore, that could be part of the agreement that you would then enter into.
Okay, I mean, I know that we have a motion in a second for this first the specific wording, but I would just say that it seems like you're limiting it to only those four options, so I would just like it to see that there's some flexibility there.
Well, certainly, and I would almost frankly recommend that you are agreeable to amend the motion, just authorize us to advertise consistent with this or in this general form, subject to minor edits or modifications. So if we catch something between now and Friday when we intend to hopefully advertise this thing, that we have to make some modifications that we're okay to do that.
Was there some other option you have thought of, locations? Or?
Yeah, it seems that if we're paying $30,000, whatever it is we're paying to have a consultant tell us what proposed options are, I don't know why we would dictate to them that they can only give us these four.
Well, we're not. So again, because this is all we're asking them for is their statement of qualifications. What are your qualifications to do this type of work? The next step would be to provide them with a detailed scope, and in that scope, you could decide whether it's one option, two options, 12 options, whatever you can negotiate with the consultant.
So we just had this challenge before we issued RFPs, and then what we get back is very narrow, and then we're surprised because what we put in the RFP was very narrow, and so we don't get a wider range.
Well, and again, this is not an RFP, this is an RFQ, where you're simply looking for consultants that have the best experience, qualifications to do this type of work. And then your actual proposal, that'll be part of a contract, would be the second step.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to authorize advertising of the RFQ with the discussed items substantially similar if the movement and the seconder agree to that amendment.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye. Those opposed. Motion carries. And then you had a second action item.
I do. So as you recall, there was a proposal made by the operator to construct a 25,000 square foot fabric warehouse.
We can't, no.
Yes, don't press it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Don't press
Battery run out?
There you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So in previous meetings, there was a request by the operator to construct a 25,000 square foot fabric warehouse at the northeast section of the terminal. You authorize us to go out with an RFP, request for bids, for proposals to construct that facility. The facility would be funded 50% with a state grant that we have in place already, and then 50% provided as a match by the operator. We went out for bid and received three bids for that work. The bids were all reviewed by Savage staff and myself. Mr. Dimick, who really headed up that review process, is here tonight and answer any questions you might have. The recommendation is that we select Coast to Coast Contracting LLC in an amount of $1,050,000 to construct that facility and to negotiate a construction contract with them, which would then be brought back to cut it off. Would then be brought back to you for final approval. The Coast to Coast Group is the one that constructed the existing fabric warehouse that was installed a few years ago. And my understanding is they're also doing other work for the operator at the Wilmington terminal as well. So it's a company that has done good work and the operator feels very comfortable with. So recommendation is to award the contract, award the bid to Coast Contracting and for a construction contract to then come back to you for final approval.
If we wish to approve it, this meeting, we would need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, second. Okay, the floor is open to discussion.
There on the total amount for this building, what is that correct amount, Dave?
I'm sorry.
The total amount for the building?
Well, the total, including installation, was $1,050,000.
I just want to make sure I was correct. I didn't understand that. I would clarification on that. What did our last building?
Wasn't here when that was procured, so I don't know. So,
I don't remember. Seems considerably less.
yeah, I don't know. This was the lowest of the 2 years. The way we advertised was that it was going to be evaluated based on best value to the port, not necessarily lowest cost, but this one happened to meet not only best value because of their experience, but also happened to be the lowest cost as well.
And we went out and the same size.
I don't know if someone's I don't know the size of the current offhand.
I was pretty close to the same size. Would not be some.
Everything's going up in price.
So how did you select Coast to Coast versus the others?
So we had a current package, the matrix that was developed, and we looked at cost, timing, warranties, experience. And based on that ranking, Coast to Coast was like number one.
But the base value is very close. Unless I'm reading wrong.
You have to add all the other charges to it, so when you add all the total costs, Coast to Coast was $1,050,000. The number two ranked firm was about $1,200,000, and the other was close to $1,400,000.
Do we have any sense of, their experience or anything, what due diligence do you do about, regarding their contractors?
Yeah, and I'm sure Mr. Dimick can answer some of these questions as well. We did look at their experience, and as I said, Coast to Coast has already installed one here at Port Fernandina, so they're familiar with our terminal, they're familiar with the city requirements, code requirements. And as I said, I think they're also working with the operator on one at another terminal. So they've got good experience. When you look at the website, it's very much a core part of their business as opposed to some of the other firms that are more site-built structures, whether it be metal buildings or concrete warehouse. But the fabric warehouse is really core of their business.
We did have a comment from the public about the needs assessment, and I know we had a discussion with the operator about the need for this warehouse. Mr. McPhail, is it you or who would be able to speak to the need of the warehouse?
I can speak to the
Okay.
warehouse.
You can get that in the word.
Yeah. So we're pursuing cargoes that are within the cargo mix that we have at the terminal, that requires inside storage space. We're at, it ebbs and flows with ships coming in and out. Pretty much at most times we're at 85% capacity, and as you try to pursue more business, that's not enough to store enough to build up a ship, enough product. We're looking at both import and export opportunities for forest products, steel products, break bulk cargoes. All of those have certain commodities that require inside or covered storage.
Is everything that's at the port being used to maximum capacity?
That I'd have to defer to the operations team. I mean, sometimes you have certain requirements based on customer contracts, aisle requirements, fire, safety rules, but that's always a sales and operations yings and yang, right? I'm sure I could go in there and say stuff more in there and they'll say, it's a safety issue. So, yeah, I think that'd be open for interpretation.
I have a concern that it might be a situation, fill this and they don't. I'm not of that philosophy. If you got cargo, it's surely not showing in your tonnage reports right now. Looking at them and looking at the inconsistencies of, I was there when they built the first one that's sitting out there now. And for months and 18 months, 20 months, 24 months, it was a storage for unused equipment. That's a lot of money to build a garage for used equipment. I think we need to examine this. We need to be cautious. I understand the need for storage space, but I think that we need to utilize everything that's at the port to maximum capacity before we look to spend this kind of money.
Previously, the board had discussed, including warehouse rental fees in the fees that are remitted above, because we do have a fee structure that includes cargo handling, but it doesn't include warehousing, fees. So that has been something that's been discussed, and I don't believe we've ever come to a resolution as to whether OPO would see any fees for warehousing. But I continue to advocate for that. I think that it encourages responsibility when we are using public dollars to build assets. And open does have constrained avenues for funding, and that would be a potential source of funding for OPO. Any other questions about the RFP? We have a motion and a second.
I'm sure it's not an RFP.
I'm sorry.
What we've got here is 3 responders and a request by the board director to allow him to pursue negotiating contract and bringing that contract back to you.
Thank you.
If I could just remind, I haven't heard it come up, but the operator is paying for 50% of the building. The OPA contribution is through grant funding, so OPA is not out any money. When we tour customers around and they're looking for cargo, or they're looking for places to store their cargo safely and efficiently, it's hard for them to vision having warehouse space when you're full with other people's cargo. I agree. I'm nervous when you build it and they will come approach. But we're talking about a 25,000 square foot warehouse. It doesn't take a whole lot of cargo to fill that up. We have a customer in the current fabric building. He's got cargo here since July. And believe me, we're having discussions with him to move the cargo to increase throughput, but you know, you can't dictate the cargo flow. You can just try to encourage them to push it out.
No, I would agree. The port is not in the business to store. It's in the business to receive and dispatch cargo as quickly as possible.
Madam Chair, if I may also add, the grant funding for this. The grant funding for this project is a state grant. It has an expiration of it, I believe, the end of April. In talking with FDOT, if we were to move forward with the project and they knew that there was progress being made on it, they would extend that deadline to make sure that the project was completed. But if you don't move forward with it, that grant will expire. Those funds will go back to the state.
Any other discussion? Well, the favor of the word, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carries. So David, you'll be bringing back to another contract. Will you be working with on that? Or?
Yeah, we're working with Patrick and with the operator. And we'll also be bringing back, before you execute that agreement, we'll be bringing back to you a similar agreement we talked about earlier with the operator as it relates to provide how they're going to provide the funding and the project management of the project. So that will come to you, because you'll want that approved before you approve the construction contract, so you know that you have the funding in place to award the contract.
Did you want to add something?
Unless you have a question.
Would it be possible to include, if it's the will of the board, a component of fees to OPA for the warehouse?
What fees? What, I don't know.
Yeah, so under our operating agreement, we get a portion of, we get a payment from the operator based on tonnage, once we get to that point in our agreement, right? And there's been discussion in the past about including warehousing in the fee structure, or what OPA would receive in terms of revenue from the operator.
Madam Chair, if it was our warehouse and we paid for it, if OPA paid for it, I would consider that, making it a money maker. If we're not paying for it, I don't know how we can ask for rental fees for a building that they're paying for. That just doesn't seem kosher to me.
The only thing I would say is, I think Matt just talked about a little bit is, and Commissioner Nelson mentioned as well, ports are not in the business of warehousing cargo. Right? And we sort of do ourselves a disservice, and we talk about these structures as warehouses. They're really transit sheds, right? They're coverings for cargo that need to be, for the period of time that they're on the terminal, to be covered from the elements. But the intent is not for that. The intent is not for that cargo to sit on the terminal. I'm surprised that they have cargo that's sitting as long as it is. It's not to have it stored there for long periods of time. It's to discharge it from the vessel, keep it covered until it can move inland, or vice versa. So,
But the operator does charge for warehousing if it's staying longer than a certain period of time, correct?
I assume they have the ability to do that. Whether they're actually doing that or not, I don't know. There's usually a charge. It's usually charged in order to reduce that dwell time as a disincentive to have it sit there.
Right.
The storage charge is a deterrent for there. They want that cost out of it.
Okay. And I would be a proponent of the fee based on the same concept. And the other thing we talked about and previously as board was a holdback for maintenance for all new investments. And I think that was your idea, David.
It was, and I had some conversations with the operator about that, and all these ideas, whether it's a holdback, an initial requirement for maintenance, or whether it's a fee for warehousing. I defer to Patrick, but I think those types of items almost raise themselves to a level of requiring amendment to the operating agreement. And to date, that there's not been any interest on the operator's part to amend that operating agreement.
Who will hold title to the property when it's built?
It's Opa's asset.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, it'll be Opa's asset. They will be required to provide maintenance on it, consistent with the operating agreement. And the cargo that hopefully they generate will, generate tonnage for the port at some point.
I think we also, in looking at this cost, should keep in mind that this is temporary. That battery clock will have to be replaced at some point in time. So it's not a permanent structure. It's not maintenance free. So there are considerations that we need to take into account when we move forward with this.
Madam Chair, if I would add one more piece, I'm probably complicating this more than it needs to be, but the bid that we went out for made it clear that we're really only asking for 125,000 square foot warehouse. The plan that the operator had was at some point in the near future to add a second 25,000 square foot warehouse. So we asked the bidders to provide an option price for the second warehouse. One of the things that the commission may want to consider in the future, based on some of the comments that Commissioner Nelson, Forward made, is that given that you're eligible for that 50% grant funding from the state, and if you were to generate some additional revenue, whether from the sale of property or otherwise, it could be that OPA builds that second warehouse using its equity and the grant, and then is able to charge a lease fee for that warehouse outside of the operating agreement. But that would be a subsequent decision and evaluation y'all would have to do.
Are you talking about some port property?
Yes. If you look at, no, because there's no commitment to buying the second warehouse at this point. But if you look at the conceptual plans that were put together by the operator, there are two side by side 25,000 square foot structures. And the idea is that you would put one up first, and then they would come back at some future date and want to put up the second one. And at least we would have, depending on how long the bidder would hold that option price for, you would at least have an idea of what that cost would be. And you can evaluate at that time whether you use the operator's funds to provide the match, or whether OPA provides the match.
Yeah, so those are, just to be clear, the operating agreement does allow us to have a revenue share of assets at the port of Fernandina, regardless of whether it's the operator who's contributing to that local match or whether it's OPA doing so directly.
I think that's probably subject
Like,
to,
like what you're talking about in terms of like equity investment in the warehouse, it's irrelevant to whether or not it would be.
well, again, I think it goes to further negotiation with the operator in terms of how that in the additional 25,000 square feet. You're under no obligation to provide the grant funding to a project that the operator is willing to match, right? So if they need a warehouse, if they're not willing to pay 100% for that, and you have the ability to provide it for them, but under a lease agreement, that would be the potential amendment, either a side agreement or an amendment to the operating agreement to do that.
Is that something they're proposing?
No,
Okay, this is just an idea.
clearly, it's an idea.
And the one warehouse is a measured approach. Because we do want to keep open storage available for other cargoes, and we don't want to just put up two warehouses and hope to fill it. So we're being deliberate about it. Only one at this time.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I think we've already had our vote, so any further discussion on that one? Okay, I think the last item under the port director section is acknowledgement of this paid written.
I think that was put on as a result of some conversation we had at the last meeting where you wanted acknowledgement from the Intermont attorney that we were satisfied with the. And was.
Madam Chair, there's also something here about, expense funding request, is that, been?
That was a security camera that you put.
Yeah, we did that.
No. Oh, I think, I'm sorry.
Didn't approve it.
No.
Uh, you want to talk about security cameras? If I'm here.
I thought I asked and it was commented that it would be brought up later, so I guess here we are. Yeah. So in your packet, we've submitted a formal request, to access the maintenance fees. For the security cameras. For updating and repairing, the security cameras, we're using the same vendor that we procured them and installed them, so they're familiar with the equipment and the setup.
And the total cost is $34,249.18. The amount requested is $19,249.18.
That's because they were responsible for the first $15,000.
That's in the operating agreement.
Did you have the funds in the account to pay that?
Yes.
What is the total funds in the account?
120.
So I will get a motion. Removal of $19,200 for the mains. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, carries. Please for cleaning it up, looking at the original package. Okay, anything else from David?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Old business, 9A. Customs and Border Protection Facility update.
I think we've already talked about that. But now all we can do is wait for the RFQ. For what was approved.
Okay, is this your item or
No.
is it just staying on the agenda?
Yeah, we'll need to
Okay.
put it on the.
So, we'll keep it on there, just let's get that for next time, so that we continue to make sure we.
So we keep it in front of us as well. I will communicate to Director Bradshaw the action we took tonight and that we're going out with an RFP. My request to her has been and will continue to be that we identify a process for entering into a new lease for the current customs house because it expired in April and we won't have any of these items completed by then. So we need at least a year-to-year type agreement to continue to extend that lease as long as we're making progress on the new facility. So I'll continue to keep that in front of her.
Very favorable to that.
Yes. But I'm going to keep that in front of her because I'm sure it'll be a lease that they provide to us. It'll be a government form lease that we'll have to approve. So just make sure that that doesn't get lost in the trunk.
Old business, Bailey Portland, tugboat and all inspection update. Matt, did you have an update on that?
That's what I provided earlier.
Right.
Anything else from Commissioner Nelson or anyone else?
I can give you a more detailed update on the subject, but I'm going to say it for my, committee.
Go right ahead.
On the Fort Lynch, the media blasting is continuing and is underway as of today. They're prepping the hull for 2 coats of primer, 2 coats of anti-fouling, 1 top coat. In this, they will be painting that tug from the handrails to the keel, so everything will be protected. There are 125 zinc antidotes on this boat that are going to have to be removed before they paint. and they'll have to be reinstalled, so there's probably gonna be a little bit of additional, that y'all are talking about, in that. But if not, the boat would be subject to, hull damage, from corrosion and electrolysis. The completion date on that, they would not commit to anything because of weather, the cold, climate that we've had in the early months makes it very difficult to paint. So, I was told that they would notify as soon as they're ready to come out. And I am getting, periodic updates, I'll keep you posted on where they're at with that. They are having to do some, additional repairs on some vent pipes that come through the hull. I checked with them today and they were in the process of replacing those as well. So looks like the work is moving forward. The job is being supervised this time, not like the last go around. So there are engineers looking at it. There are professionals that are following this stuff up. So when it's done, it'll be done right. So that's my report on the report.
Thank you. The next item is the under old business is Oakwood property sale. But in the version of the packet I have, I don't have anything behind that item. Are there supposed to be items behind that item?
No, because the board has information on the remainder of the candidates from past meeting.
I would say what we need to decide how we're gonna handle the sale of that property, or we choose one of the records we have already, that's already submitted to us, or do a new RFQ. Whatever. That's what we need to decide.
We have to do our RFQs, if we have somebody available, and then free, is that correct?
Mhm.
How do we want to handle it?
Look, Madam Chair.
Go right ahead.
Roseanne, do you reach out to the potential?
Yes, sir. The remainder of the candidates minus Mr. Hillman.
I guess you did not reach out to them.
No, he withdrew.
Withdrew. And Commissioner Fuller, you said you reached out to Mr. Hillman, called him.
I called him twice, but I didn't get a call back, and we're not going to keep trying, but.
So, I said that, in the last meeting, my comments were, I wasn't real happy with the direction this went. I had hard time supporting selling one property that I thought was just bad business to do it. Very adamant it didn't sell, or we just do one, I really don't want to support one. And, it seemed like we didn't have a solid plan moving forward, with it. And after, again, Mr. Hillman, and I don't blame him for resigning, but I definitely withdrawing. I feel like he was very well qualified, had a great plan, and he presented to us, and moving forward, his experience, that's what I was, who I was excited about. Moving forward now, I'm not going to support selling, property. And that we need a solid plan. I think we're going to revisit this. We can go back and run what exactly we're going to do, but moving forward, I'm not supporting the sale of property.
Well, we've already voted on the selling property, so, and we know we didn't support that, so, but we need to move forward with it, because we voted on the board voted to do it. We need to figure out how we'll go about doing it now. I think
I'm sorry, could you remind the board what the vote was on the last
4-1.
meeting, what the actual motion was? It should be in our packet in the minutes.
Okay.
Commissioner Fullwood motion to sell. Commissioner Cole second. Sell the property on 332 North 3rd Street and choose other broker.
Can I read it to you? No, but I have a motion I made.
Okay.
I move that we just for sale of properties located at 332 North Third Street, and that we choose one of the remaining brokers that applied to our ROQ to act as our agent for the sale of the property, and a resolution written to place the money from the sale into an investment account to be used for any identified future projects chosen and voted on by this commission. The money cannot be used for operations. And it was voted on 4-1.
Okay, so at this point,
It was 3-2.
Oh,
Sorry.
3-2.
Mhm.
okay, so at this point, the options would be to move forward on that motion, or to rescind that motion, or to determine how we're going to move forward to award with the remaining bidders.
You can't rescind the motion, that motion was voted on. So there's nothing to rescind. You can entertain a motion to do something different, but that's what's out there right now.
So if it was voted on and was passed by the board, there wouldn't be like a rescinding of an action.
Right.
If there's a motion to second.
You can entertain a motion to rescind previous board action, yes.
That's, I think, what I was trying to say,
That is
in
what I-
articulately.
That's all right, you just said motion, rescind the motion.
Okay, so
So
we
you
can
can
rescind
rescind board action or take a
it.
move
Forward with it.
or move forward with a superseding motion or more specifically, but that's what's on the books right now.
Or we table it and take no action. So do I have any action?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the sale of the property.
Yeah, that's on the books right now, which you need to decide whether you want to proceed in effectuating the previous board action, which were, as I see things lined up, we need to identify a broker that you're going to go with, or if you're going to take some other action.
So I think my motion is to move forward with the motion. We hire a broker.
We don't need to make a
The motion would be to identify a broker and attempt to entertain or enter into a contract with them, or a listing agreement, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So the next, if you're following the previous action, taking the next action would be to select a broker and authorize myself or David or a combination of us to begin working on a listing agreement with said broker.
So we don't have the submissions in front of us right now to determine how we're going to rank or score, and I don't think we did a ranking or scoring previously in our process.
Correct.
So we have 3 candidates at this point, 4, how many candidates do we have?
So I reached out to the remaining candidates and I heard from 3 out of 5. Do you want to know who they are?
Yes, please.
It was Mr. Gribble, Gribble, Mr. Griffin, and EXP Commercial, which is Miss Land and Miss Brittany. They're 1.
Yeah, he responded to this.
table this, and you know, you can look at just agree.
We want to choose a process to do that, and not table it.
So we can table it, we can have a motion and a second to review those candidates now. It's up to the board.
All that information you have.
Will we invite you to the next meeting?
Because we didn't have the candidate packets attached to, like the candidate submissions attached to the packet. My preference would be to table it, but again, it's the will of the board as to whether you don't take action.
We need to move forward as quickly as possible.
I do too, but I just, the belief that we left. Can't say that I had a second choice, Whatever we wanted for the first course. But I haven't had a chance to go and look at who was that. I think we got the facts, I got all the days when I try and continue to get a hold of John. You know, see if he was interested. So, I would recommend trying one more time to get it with him. If it's not, then we're gonna need to decide on the support it. I don't understand.
Madam Chair, would you want to do that, Captain?
So. My understanding was that Mr. Norman withdrew 3 times. Requests. Okay, my understanding that he withdrew. So I'm not sure why we reach back out to him. I mean, nothing against him, but in fairness to the other applicants. The other bidders.
What we need to do
Yeah,
that.
so my recommendation would be to table this, because clearly we haven't reviewed the qualifications, are not prepared to take action.
So what we do moving forward, we want to look at their packets again, have them come in. Come back with a vote next time about who we want, and we don't have to vote on it tonight, but
You know, what you're saying, point the table.
we need to table it with a purpose.
It's your agenda item, and so I welcome your thoughts and your report.
Well, what might be right, but, I'll, my recommendation that we look over the remaining packets again. Come back next meeting with our own recommendations, and if we have, want to call those people in to get them. And then, or not, we don't have to, we just go by the packets they submitted, because we've already interviewed it.
Or we already have, so I don't know what you think we're gonna have in. That's how we need to decide on which three. Meeting.
Which of the three you want to, go with, and, Patrick
I'll check with some.
and David. You agree?
We're not having a meeting, we're having a second meeting for the month. And we decided that, yeah.
Right, it's not. The first thing that's been going with the holiday, everyone on this day.
The next meeting is supposed to be
December.
December,
22nd.
no, it'll be December 15th.
13th.
Yeah, first.
Correct,
Oh, sorry, December.
Wednesday,
yes. So we just go with-
I'm just sitting here thinking, you know, I've said that I would go along with selling one parcel of property, and I gave a reason why I would go along with that. As I look at my report, as of today, there's been no action taken on any of the corroded panels or the rail dot. Now, listen to me. I know you might think it's funny, but to me,
I don't think.
it's just a sign of what's going on here. We just need to get further out and move it on. Let's come back. Let's make some definitive decisions here. We've already voted that we want to sell the property, correct?
Correct.
I'm saying that I will go along with selling one piece of property. Because right now, we need to get out of the predicament that we're in. It was that, I mean,
When we voted on that,
There's nothing we talk about, it's forever, we got to get the money first.
I'm saying, this is what I'm leading up to. Let's stop this. Well, you know, I'm gonna think about it again. Let's move forward. We got people to spend their
That's
time.
what I'm saying, we do.
Let's move forward. Let's bring the packets, let's look at them at the next meeting. Let's make a definitive decision. That's all. Okay?
Let's do it.
We've already said we're going to sell one piece of property. At least that's all I'm gonna do. We have things that need to be done, and we're not getting anything done. And it's kind of getting a little on the annoying side.
Okay, so I've not heard any other motion, so what I hear, we have 3 out of 5 that would like to move forward, with, at the next meeting, identifying a broker.
Yes. Correct. All right.
So the last item is that the board.
Sure. I find that, I think at a minimum, those three should be informed that this topic will be on the next agenda. I'm not saying you have to interview them or anything like that. I just think if things have gone by, time has gone by, I think they should at least be informed that the board is evaluating the situation and intends to select a broker.
So Rosanna, can you confirm that?
They were notified as such before this meeting, and I was anticipating a board decision on which candidate, but I could reach out again and let them know.
We'll make a decision next meeting.
And I will forward you all of their proposals.
Thank you. All right, the last item is the corridor advisory board. We presented the potential charter of the advisory board at the last meeting. I know Patrick came back with some suggested revisions, and I believe that was attached to our meeting packet. Did anybody have any additional thoughts or comments about the concept of the advisory board? This was my item originally. What I would propose is that we accept this in concept as what we would like to enact. And that at the next meeting, we come prepared to vote for nominations, but I would like the public to see the proposed charter for us to have a clear sense of purpose when we're discussing this with potential nominees. But for today, what I really just wanted to hear was, do we have consensus on this concept? Is this supported? If it's not supported by this board, then I don't think that it's obviously like members of the public are going to want to participate. I think this holds value. I think that members of the community have there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of experience that would be helpful to this board, and I think that it help inform our process, which up until now has not been perceived in the best light. The advisory boards are helpful with giving the community a sense of engagement, where boards are not perceived as having a sense of engagement.
Madam Chairman, for one, I think there are too many questions that still need to be answered here. And I don't know if you want suggestions tonight, but I still have a lot of questions. I don't know why we need an advisory board. Will they be required to attend our open meeting for one? The members will serve terms coexistent with the nominating commissioner. Does that mean if a commissioner is up for election, that get re-elected, does that person he appointed come off the committee or the board?
Yeah, that would mean that the newly elected commissioner, once they take office, would have the ability to appoint a new.
The members should demonstrate experience or interest in port-related activities and economic development. All members shall be full-time residents of Nassau County, verified by a valid homestead exemption. We're going to ask for their homestead exemption.
I don't support this, not at this time.
Where will they hold their meetings? Will they be able to talk to one of us outside of a meeting, or will that violate the sunshine law? Will the Oakville commissioners be allowed to discuss anything with the advisory board members? I don't understand. Will the advisory board be required to attend our meetings? Those are questions that we still need to answer. I'm just not in favor of this. I don't know why we need an outside board telling us what we need to do. That's why we were elected. And I've talked to 3 people about the board, and they would never serve on a board like that. So I'm gonna have a hard time finding anybody, and I think everybody else will be. Oh, very good.
So the purpose again is that it would allow the community to participate in the governance. And I think if we look at the types of issues that they would be tasked with, it's fairly narrow. We did work on narrowing that at the last meeting. But I welcome any revisions. I didn't hear any specific red lines in your comments, other than your question about whether they'd be required to attend open meetings. Right now, that's not included as a requirement. I think you asked about the Florida Sunshine Law, and it would apply to their meetings. Maybe the third question was whether they could meet, and I think they would be able to meet here.
They don't have it, they don't know if it's stay informed.
Commissioner Hill, there's a podium right there. Every one of the citizens that come in here and get up at that podium and tell us what they think, what we need to do. And why do we need a board to do that? I just don't think there's any information out there that a board can go out and get that we can't do ourselves, or these people sitting right here can't do.
I think the idea though is opening up, to get more people involved, with skill sets, who want to help, but may not be able to come here on a Wednesday evening. They may not feel comfortable with getting up in front of a board like this, but they can sit down in a smaller board, committee type, setting. And so, I appreciate the revisions that were made. I do have one question, regarding, the appointments. Because we're looking for someone who is correlated with economic development, related experience or interest. To Commissioner Fullwood's point, you can't find one. It's all three people in this district, can't find one. Are we able to then look outside of the district, kind of like an out large? I mean, I'm a proponent of trying to keep the district in hand, but we may get some limitations on maybe people who are
Right.
willing.
Yeah, the original version, which was modeled after the county advisory board, it was if practical, like if possible, that they would come from the same, they would live in the same district as the nominating commissioner, but it wasn't a hard and fast requirement. So I would support revising back to that.
I need that change, and I want to speak to why I made it, and do what will with it. I've experienced it firsthand, where that's a reason it's given. I can't find anybody in my district. Yeah, how do you know that? How does another commissioner know that? Know that they've tried, that they've asked, that they've turned down, as opposed to going out and finding who they want. Right. So there's really no way to fact check that. So you should Taylor, you come to the board and say, I can't find anybody in my district that wants to do this, so I've asked someone else. How does anybody know that? And I'm not saying your intention wouldn't be pure, but when things start falling apart or rolling that way, you actually need some structure as opposed to if possible. If possible, based on who's gauge, who's determining what is or isn't possible. So that's just that one comment there. I'm gonna let you all struggle with it. The other one that I would, as a whole, and I'm not for or against, but as a whole, is who's going to administer this board? Who's going to get involved in this board, overstep its authority or its bounds? Who's going to publish the notices? Who's going to make sure those are correct? Who's going to make sure the agendas are correct? Who's going to make sure the meetings are run the way they're supposed to be run, legally, public comment, minutes, approval of minutes, all of those things. So I just want you to think about the fact that this just isn't some group of people that's going to go do what you think they're going to do. They're going to go do what they see, what gets put in front of them, what's important to them, all of those things. So it can be a very complicated creation and administration of another board, even if it's not an advisory board. Just think of a planning board, zoning board. You're all familiar with those. That's a whole nother board that somebody's got to run, and make sure they're doing things the right way. So I just want to make sure that you all are thinking about that when you look at this charter. There's a lot of, they're not fatal, but there's a lot of complications and pitfalls that you can run into that you don't anticipate in a one-page charter.
If we have a sensitive or, important item that we need to establish a board to research, then we can. If there's a particular thing that.
Like we did with the master plan.
Exactly, yes.
the stakeholders were excellent, with information. And these folks sitting out here are the best line of information that you can get. And these are the folks that I'll go to and that have talked to me about issues. And I appreciate them showing up tonight. You know, it takes a lot of effort to come out to these people.
Yeah.
So, I support the stakeholders. I support the neighbors. I mean, I've gone by and talked, so, I'm gonna stay in touch with it because that is your best line of information.
Madam Chair, at this point, I'm gonna ask that you withdraw this, request for a advisory board for a future time. Maybe we can wait some
I
more.
haven't made any motions for
Okay, well,
yeah. So I think the whole point of this was just to present the charter, to get a sense of what the board wanted. Right now, I don't hear that there are 3 votes in favor of the advisory board. I will not withdraw the concept, though. I think that we should keep this, time. Because I do think that there may come a time in the future where we may choose to move forward with that. Okay, so back to the agenda. New business, any new business?
None were submitted.
Any reports and comments? I have new business development reports listed.
Put that on.
That was included in the code of ethics.
Okay. So usually we would have the commissioner reports listed out in our whole agenda. We took that out. Do we have commissioner reports?
Absolutely.
Okay. Commissioner.
All right, I was in contact with CBP today. The only thing that they mentioned about the current facility is, they're continuing their IT project up there. I'm not getting involved in that. We just keep them updated. In the communication, he asked that as we progress with the architect, the engineer, that we just give them updates periodically so that she can send them on up the line. And I said I would mention that at the meeting tonight. The security, spoke to them on a couple occasions. The cameras are an issue because they use those cameras to monitor the rail gates at night and during the late evenings. Another thing that I want to put on the agenda to us to look into is we're going to have to do something with that security office. I was out there the other day and it's outlasted its longevity. The walls, you lean up against the walls and they just kind of flow with you. There's water hidden inside. So
About the guard.
the guard shack, there's issues with it that we need to address them and make sure that we can get that taken care of. Anybody that wants to stop by, I encourage you to go by and see for yourself. That building has been there for decades. So without really anything being done to it. So with that being said, moving on to the container crane number 9, the Liebherr. There's still some minor issues that they're working on down there, but they are using the crane periodically. Liebherr container crane number 10 is no problem with it, no issues at the time of this report. The mobile harbor, the big blue one, they have replaced quite a bit of hydraulic hoses on it. At this point, they advise me that they're at their end on that, but they will start back up because there are other hoses that are getting to the point that they do need to be replaced. As far as the OPA trucks, 623 was down today with a computer problem. I understand that they're going to have somebody take a look at it and get it back online. Again, warehouse number 3, warehouse, the rail dock still suffers from the same ongoing issues. I was advised that there have been some estimates requested. I understand that there may be 1 or 2 that they received. So what I would say is we need to encourage them for us to move forward and get some kind of game plan on how we will address it.
Is that something you could follow up on?
I'm sorry,
Probably.
Was that?
You see, follow up on it.
Well,
I'll follow up.
Commissioner Nelson just gave us a list of items.
Yes.
That require maintenance for the operator agreement, the operator's obligation, we have a court director, so I'm asking a court director whether he would be willing to follow up on that to the operator.
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Nelson, you provided a list the last meeting, and then I know Patrick wrote, he has to be operator asking for an update, we're getting sort of high level updates, but are we gonna have a project plan or?
So I'm pinging them today on that and the previous document request and both of those to Greg. So I'll stay on about looking at.
So do we need to add items?
The cameras that were mentioned and the information that we incorporated in this letter are still down. This is why I had no problem.
Voted on.
Let's thank him.
They voted on the repair.
We've given them the okay to go and let's get it done. Hopefully, we can get the same action taken on the roof of warehouse number 3 and the building.
Conversations that I've had with Mr. Hale seem to indicate that they are moving forward on those in a similar fashion. And that they would make probably similar request to the commission for use of the capital reserve fund for some of the projects. So that'll come back to the commission, but we certainly have their intention, and I think they have well intentions to move forward on those projects.
Commissioner Nelson, I do thank you. I know you put in a lot of time, above and beyond, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Action we need to take on this item tonight.
I would just encourage the board and Savage Services that as quick as possible. I mean, we're approaching a year of this stuff. The storm came through at the end of January 2022. So every time those folks are working on that rail dock, there's a great possibility for somebody to get hurt. And I worked in that industry. I know when you least expect it, it's when it's going to happen. So it will be a glorious day, if you will, when we get that rail dock covered. Again, they cover them for a reason. And that's to prevent those forklifts from running on wet ground. Thank you.
So we've added those to the agenda, like to the top of the agenda. I think we should keep this item, the repairs in the report operators report for the next meeting. The next item would be any other commission reports. Commissioner Cole, do you have anything? I know you gave us a card from the TPO.
Nothing except that those are you can do the parliament. When it's coming out, they have some items they would like to consult with them on, and I'll try to get that to you as soon as possible. We do have a meeting in the morning.
So we're in the planning phase for the county to be submitting projects. Who from the county is managing projects for Nassau County? Is it Taco?
His department, I mean, he's the county manager, but I know he has everything that is their responsibility.
Okay.
I don't know who actually is at this point.
Okay, and I know that they coordinate with the city.
Correct.
I don't know if they've met any manager or not.
I couldn't tell you that.
Great, thank you. Any other reports?
Commissioner Hill, you're gonna appoint new committee people, or you're gonna do the same committees?
We didn't have the committees on the agenda, but we can do that.
What do you do on that meeting? Maybe, I think, Commissioner Cole, and all economic development, I'm glad to take that.
Okay, so, let's do it. Rosanna, why don't we, could you circulate a list of the committees to the commissioners so that everybody is aware of what the different committees are and can come prepared with either their expression of interest or their nominations, please. Thank you. And then the next item is Rosanna's report.
My report is included in the meeting packet. Any questions? And in addition, I have 3 things. I would like board permission to take, to tour the port with Commissioner Nelson, just so I can understand what's going on and take notes.
You got Commissioner Hill?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just asking.
But you do have to have somebody that's got to target with you.
Right, so since Commissioner Nelson is always there,
That's great.
if you don't mind. Okay.
Matt, can that be arranged?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
And then number 2, since we're coming up with, for Veterans Day, I would like to thank all the veterans in the audience and who's ever's watching. Thank you for your service. And number 3, if you guys can help me put away the chairs and the table. My husband's not coming back, so I'm by myself.
You have veterans on the commission too.
Sorry?
You have veterans on the commission too.
Yes,
Yeah.
so thank you, Commissioner Fullwood, Commissioner Cole. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Okay, any other items to be brought by the commissioners? There are none, meeting adjourned.